as I was growing up, man. You had your really good areas, and then you had your rough areas, and I was somewhere in the middle of that. And I had the opportunity just to be around some really good quality people, salt of the earth, people that really work for everything that they've gotten in life. And I think that just instilled the work ethic in me. When it came down to, I think heroes are anybody that I really looked up to. I think my family, was my biggest deal. My mom, my pops, and then my older brothers. I watched them work hard, and that's where I got my work ethic from. And then just learning a lot from the game of football, which really helped me in regards to learning teamwork and everything else that went on with that. So, but that was it, man. Everybody grows up somewhere. Everybody has to grow up somewhere. So, North Little Rock, Arkansas was it for me.
Yeah.
So that, uh-huh.
That's awesome. And tell me, how did your family help to influence you as you developed your interest in football? And I mean, you've taken it so far, and you're involved in so many organizations. I can't wait to hear about those. So tell me about
Yeah.
how, when you were younger, how they instilled value or motivated you. Your family.
For me, I think they gave me enough space and enough leeway to learn, what my lane was going to be. It was never a lot of pressure when it came down to, sports or school for myself, because, my parents worked. So, they demanded, hey, we need good grades. I mean, that's my job, as a school age youngster, that was my job, and I took it very seriously. But when it came down to really just driving me, I think that's always been in me.
Yeah.
How some people don't really know what they want to do or don't really have a purpose. I was purpose driven early, and I really didn't know what it was for, until I got to this point, and being able to help so many people and being able to mentor and have relationships with so many different people. When I was young, I didn't really understand, what that was about, being able to do so many different things. But as I got older, I started just realizing that purpose. And I've always been like that. I've always been, I guess, driven and motivated to do a lot of different things and really just try to learn as much as possible, because I always wanted to know what the workload was for everybody. So that way,
Right.
if I was asked to do something, I knew what the workload was. If I asked somebody else to do something, I knew what the workload was, so they couldn't just, say, hey, I can't do that, stuff like that. So, I
Right.
think that was my deal,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, when did you get interested in the game of football? And or before football, did you get to play any other sports? But what made you choose football in your career?
For me, I think I was blessed with the size, man. It never was a passion of mine, to be honest with you. You have a lot of guys that, football, and that's all they know.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I was more into music, creating music and art, just being creative. My brother and I, my older brothers, we had a bit of an age gap between us. So while they were doing their things, I kind of was by myself and to myself a lot. So it gave me a lot of time to really learn different things about myself and just learn about, other things that I had going on. So sports for me, I grew up watching them, and they were the best athletes I had ever seen in my life, and they were the ones that were supposed to be, the NFL and MLB and NBA guys and those types of things, but they chose to do other things. But for me, I was always big. I always had size. So I really didn't get into the game of football until 7th grade, in which I jumped out there, and it took a little while for me to really get into it, like the 10th grade, when I started taking it serious. But I had a couple of coaches come to me and say, hey, man, I don't know how serious you are about this game, but with your size and the different things that you can do, we think you could, go to the next level. We think you can play in the NFL. And, being a kid, that's in one ear and out the other, and
Yeah.
but
Really?
but as I started really getting into it, around the 10th, 11th grade, that's when I really started taking it super serious and saying, hey, I can do something with this.
Wow.
Now, Garrick, do you feel that your passion, it helped develop your passion for mentoring? Because it seems like you give back a lot.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think when you are in a position to give back, that's a part of that, the thing that has you there.
Yeah.
To be able to give back to people, to be able to invest in people, to be able to pour into people
Yeah.
is really what this thing is about. Because it's never really about one person making it. It's all about, bringing up the next group and making sure that they understand, what they have their hands on and how to, do things the right way. So that mentoring relationship, I had to learn the hard way, how I got to the NFL, the different things I had to go through, the mentors that I didn't have. So a lot of it is just trial and error and baptism by fire. So I said I wanted to set some things up that are going to help people be able to navigate things a lot better than I went through. And that's kind of like my gift to the movement,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I want to take us through your college recruitment process. Obviously, you went to Arkansas State, but
Right.
did you have any other offers before choosing Arkansas State? And what was it like playing close to your hometown?
Man, it was great. My college recruitment process was really good. I had colleges from all over the country, really, that were looking at me, because of my size.
Garrick, how tall are you?
I am 6'5" on a good day. Yeah. So I'm,
Okay.
so I was, I was an offensive tackle. So, colleges are always looking for size. And then on top of that, I
Yeah.
could move a little bit. So I had some options, I had a lot of options, but, I chose to go to a school closer to home. I wasn't necessarily interested in the Arkansas Razorbacks, just because of the dynamic that was going on there. I didn't think that fitted me, well to be there 4 years or to be there for my college career. So Arkansas State, was the other Arkansas. They had a brand new head coach coming in who had just won a national championship with Ohio State. And we were going to be independent. So all of the schools that recruited me, we would end up playing them at some point. So, I'll just say, you know what, I'd rather stay close to home and do it for the home state and do what I can on their field and just help us win games and do what we needed to do. So that's what I did.
Wow.
Once you started taking it more seriously around 10th grade, what were your days like? What was like your routine, thinking back about what that was like to have schoolwork for the youth so that they can hear about that?
Oh man, it at that particular point, I think it's prioritization of everything that you have to get done. Understanding, being registered for the clearinghouse, the grades that you need, the different tests that you have to take in order to be eligible. I wanted to make sure that I was on top of that. Like I said, coming through school, I always had, really good grades. But for me, it was all about creating and doing different things. But once I started taking football serious, I had to learn exactly what it meant for me to be a D1 athlete. And I had to start taking a lot of things more serious when it came down to my test and making sure I was on top of those things. But I had a good support system around me, and my mom stayed on me about it. And that was really good, to have her in my corner, and we're working through things and just trying to figure things out. And we did a pretty good job of it. I ended up going D1 and being eligible from day one. Right after my high school graduation, I was in school.
Oh, wow.
So I was graduated maybe 2 or 3 days, and I was already in school at Arkansas State. So that's kind of what my situation was. So I knew I had a job to do, and it was time to go get it done.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I found an interesting thing here. You forego your senior year to go to the NFL, and take me to that process. Did you ever think that you wanted to go back for your senior year? And obviously you were undrafted, but just take me through that process. What was that? How tough is that for you?
I mean, I had to make a big boy decision. For me, it was a lot of different things going on with school, the different aspects of, being in school and playing football and being there year round. The name, images, and likenesses situations. Back then it was one of them situations where, we're making the schools millions of dollars. But come summertime, we're hungry, right? So it's like, what are we doing? Like, so I had to make a decision. It was a lot that was going on. So I stepped back. And for me, I knew that I had did enough work on the field to get a look. I had played against around, I want to say 10 guys or so that maybe went through first through the fourth or fifth round. And I held my own. So I was on radars. I didn't necessarily know what it would look like for me to leave. And my thing was, I just want to make sure that I'm okay. And I took that time off and went home and dealt with the family situations there. And then eventually everything pretty much leveled out. And I'm watching games where I'm supposed to be playing these guys. And, you know, my folks are like, hey, we need to figure something out because we know you're not happy. So we had a powwow and I sent out a couple of emails and got some emails back from some good people that said, hey, look, we'll help you in this because we know you're on radars. And the rest was history, man. We got a hold of some scout schedules, and I followed those guys from Little Rock to LA, from LA back to Mobile, Alabama.
Wow.
So I had to show them that I was a professional without being paid to be so. And that's what we did.
You put in the work, you put in the mentality, the physicality.
Oh, yeah.
You definitely do. So tell us, I mean, it's a natural drive, sure, but tell us also how you maintain, it sounds like you also have maintained that balance and then you're in it for the long haul. So give us some secrets on your daily balance, how you maintain that personal balance.
Oh, it's hard. It's very hard. You know, there's a lot of areas in my life that have lacked. You know, it's a lot of sacrifice.
Right.
But being, being a provider, husband, father, all these different things, right? There are things that you have to do in order to make sure that everybody around you is safe and secure and good. So there's a lot that you don't get the chance to do. And I think watching my father work just to keep a roof over our heads, and the bills paid, and those types of things with my mom as well working. I got a chance to watch both of them work together to keep us in a good spot financially. And that's what I work to live my life by, to be able to put the work in to make sure that my family's good. And that's kind of the situation. You know, there are sacrifices that have to be made, but at the end of the day, I have the best intentions for everybody around me. And I do what I can with what I have. And just pray that it's enough, but at the end of the day, I'm here to do what I can and try to make it happen. And that's all I've been doing my entire life.
Well, so far it's way more than enough. You're the hero. You said you were surrounded by heroes and now you've become the hero. So that's very cool.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. So obviously you got your first opportunity with the Jaguars, and obviously you played you had an interesting career. You played 5 seasons in the NFL, 5 seasons in Canadian Football League. So take me through that, both experience. Take us through this both experience, and what was it like going through different teams, learning different personalities and cultures, and how tough is it for you and your family to keep moving from team to team?
Man, it's professional sports is stressful. I think it's one of the hardest things that I've ever done outside of retiring from professional sports. Because it's so regimented. There's so many different things you have to go through and you got to learn. You got to learn new people, new systems. You got to travel, all those things. So it's one of those things that's really hard. For me, how I got to the Jags and how I made it there was through that grind that I went through. Showing the scouts that I deserved a shot and to be there. But the moment I got there is when I was introduced to, the NFL and business and all those different things, the politics of it all. And I wasn't there a long time, but I got a chance to see how it worked, right then and there. So for me, the NFL was a little more business-like. And once I was released there, I had went straight up to Winnipeg, Manitoba. So I retired. Well, I was released in Jacksonville, and it was like 110 degrees there. And then I went up to Winnipeg, and it was raining sideways, and I think -3. Ooh. So it was different. You know what I'm saying? There's different rules, a whole new set of individuals to learn. But when I got there, Coach Dave Ritchie said, "Man, I don't know how they let you slide through the cracks, but we're glad to have you. And you're starting at left tackle." And that was the second day of practice. So I didn't know any of the plays, didn't know my teammates, but I had some guys who had been down in the NFL in the States for a number of years that were there playing. And I had some really good vets that, pulled me to the side and said, "Hey, listen, we'll tell you where to go. We know that you're not going to be here long. We know you're going to go back down. So we want to make sure that we're here to help you as much as possible, man." And I love those guys for life. And that's Mo Elwanibi and Dave Mudge. Those guys helped me a lot, and that I got a chance to have a really good season there and with the Bombers. And then after that season, all of the guys that I had worked out for on the road got a chance to see me in pads. So when I was done, man, I came and worked out for like 14 different teams after that season. So it was crazy. It was a whirlwind, but we made it work. And that was the politics of it. I had my best times playing the game up in the CFL, which was really good. But there's adjustments when you have kids, you have marriages, you have all these different things that you throw into the pot. So when it comes down to mental health and everything that goes along with it, it's a stressful game, and it's something that you shouldn't take lightly. It's the best temporary job you'll ever have, but when it's all said and done, man, it's an experience that you're going to leverage to do bigger and better things that these athletes need to understand. It's not the end all, it's just the beginning,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when you followed these scouts, you went through this process, and it's very different from now. I mean, you were chasing your dreams, literally. Right. So a couple questions. How did it feel when you made it to the NFL and put on your jersey, the pads, everything? How did that feel? And did you connect with some of the scouts? Like, did you become friendly with them since you followed them a couple places?
Yeah, no, I did. I mean, I had to make them respect me, which was really good. And that's the same thing with the fans and everything that I have going on now. Once people get a chance to know me and see the drive and the determination that, I'm not going to quit. I have that will to win. It's infectious. And the scouts were the same way. Like a lot of those guys that scouted me, we're friends to this day. I mean, we're best of friends. I mean, we're speed dial and everything because they know that, I have aspirations to be an owner in the NFL. I have aspirations to own leagues, which we have our own league right now, the State's Developmental Football League. So we all keep in contact, and it's a big family, a big fraternity. And that was really cool to be able to work with those guys and really show them that I had the vision and the foresight, and then eventually they bought in. So that's how that looks. It's an everyday occurrence with myself. It's just, continuing to work, and we're still in good spirits and working together on everything. So it's good.
Nice. And how did it feel when you finally put on your NFL gear? How did that feel?
I think it was surreal. It was a little different for me because, like I said, I knew that coming into it, it was a means to do bigger and better things. So to me, it was just another step, right? Some guys grow up and they say, hey, all I want to do is play in the NFL. That was never me. I knew I wanted to do things. I know I wanted to do big things. And I knew that being there was a part of that process. So when I came in, I was not sought after, one of those guys that they brought in and they gave me a waiver to sign instead of a signing bonus. It's like, hey, if you break it, it's on you. They gave me a 3-day tryout. Then after I did the tryout, knocked that out, they gave me a contract and said, welcome to the NFL. And that's how it started. So I mean, I had my blinders on the entire time. Even while I played the game, I was always a student of what went on around it. So the logistics of games, the scouts, the GMs, the coaches, the team presidents, the owners, I was always in that situation where it was on the job training for me because I knew I wanted to do other things too. So
smart.
Yeah.
You were a worker. You were just still like unwavered.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
consistency. It's key.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. You can be consistently bad or consistently good as long as you're consistent. But
I'm celebrating because you took yourself so far and you got in and then you used all those connections. And now I can't wait to hear about the other organizations that you're working with right now too.
And I appreciate it. I thank you for that celebration because we're working. So sometimes I have to slow myself down and I have to look.
A little celebration.
I have to look around sometimes. So I get
you need a bottle of champagne.
we need a few bottles of champagne.
Nathan's gonna pop some today for you.
Thank you, and for the birthday.
Yep,
that's right.
But so I want to ask you. Obviously, you play. I want to get to your. Actually, I want to ask you about your Houston career because after your Houston career, you also didn't you try to run for the Houston GM too? And you obviously you live in Houston and you do a lot of work in Houston. So what was it like playing for the Houston Texans?
Oh, it was great, man. It was great, because when I came in, I was a year removed from the inaugural season, which was real cool. And the team was, wanting to find their identity, and I had been with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Jags before that. So I got a chance to see veteran organizations as opposed to fledgling organizations, which the Texans were at the time. And it gave me a lot of different perspective, when it came down to certain things and how the organizations were ran. And like I said, you got to understand, I was looking at all of the logistics. It wasn't necessarily just the football aspect, because I knew I could play, but I also knew just from the politics of it that, if we got 3 or 4 guys in the same position, the guy that they put the most money into is the one that's going to play. It doesn't matter about, how good you are or not. It's the politics of a playing time. So I understood that. And I understood that I needed to win off the field in order to stick around.
Yeah.
And that's just what I did. I got out in the city and out in City Hall and implementing my programs in the philanthropic space. And ended up getting proclamated a Garrick Jones Day in the city of Houston while I was playing, which really helped me solidify myself. Yeah, so I put in the work, and I understood that I could go out here and run around all day and be better than somebody. But if they haven't invested that much money in me, it's easier to let me go. So I said, look, I got to get off the field and really make some things happen to be able to solidify myself here. And that's what I did.
That's awesome.
And that's so, yeah, it is so awesome. And it's so special to be able to see that in the midst of the whole process. You know what I mean? To let your ego go and look at the advantages of, hey, because of this salary, or whatever situations, you're
Right.
gonna and say, like, I could be a shining star right now and go out and just be on the field and celebrate it and in your off time, but you were putting in the work knowing, that your future. A lot of guys get on here and they tell us the NFL is not for long. And I just think it's so admirable when you put in double the work on a second career while you're playing.
Absolutely. No, the NFL
That's
is
what you
undefeated.
did.
Yeah, the NFL is undefeated. I have yet to see somebody leave, when they wanted to, and Tom Brady might be the only guy that would ever do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is not for long. It's the best temporary job you'll ever have. It's quick. So you have to utilize it for what it is. The moment you sign your name on that contract, you're on your way out the door. It's always going to be somebody younger and cheaper coming the next year. And a lot of people don't understand, like every Tuesday, they're bringing in people to replace you.
Yeah.
So there's no job security. It's stressful. A lot of people say, man, I just love to be a part of it. It's a rough life. You get paid well, but at the end of the day, there's a reason you're getting paid like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's all these extra aspects of it that plays with your mental. And I understood what was going on before I got there. So the moment I got there and I got hint that, okay, this is how this business is going to be ran here. Like
Right.
I said, I had to really pivot and make my moves off the field. And that's what I did.
Knowing that process, did you do a lot of mentorship with other guys on the team, fellowship while you were there?
Right. Yeah, I did. I had the opportunity to really, mix and mingle with all the guys, and guys would call me up or just, watch me work and do what I do. And then, from there, those relationships, they manifested and matured. When it came down to business, guys always knew that I was doing something. So it was really cool, and I've been this way my entire life. So when I bring things to the table, some guys might say, hey, look, I want to be a part of that. And some guys will just look from the sidelines, but they always know that I'm doing it, with or without them. I'll make sure that it's good. And if you decide you want to be a part of it, cool. If not, cool. We're good.
Right.
This is what I do. So.
Very admirable. Very cool.
So now, after your football career, you're doing a lot of things right now off the field, and after your retirement, obviously you're the commissioner, CEO of the State's Developmental Football League. Also, you're part of the NFLPA and then the advisory board for Impact Sports, and you have the Huddle Foundation. So what's it like just to be involved in the game still, having all those important stuff in your life now?
And I want to hear about all those.
Got you. Well, that's not even half of them, to be honest. All of them are seamless. All of them work in the same direction. And it's all about making sure that the players and the athletes and the fans and their families are in a good space financially, are in a good space when it comes down to generational wealth, are in a good space when it comes down to health and wellness. So I picked those lanes in the different companies that I deal with, because that's the space that I come from. So it just made sense. And like I say, with everything that I do, it's calculated. It's something that I thought out for years. So I play a lot of chess when it comes down to a lot of different things that I have my name attached to. But everything that I do is to get people from one space to the next space. And that's just them maturing, being financially stable, being able to learn from our mistakes. And we just teach from testimony. So that's what the State's Developmental Football League is about. It's a league where the players are going to get financial literacy, business, branding, marketing, promotions, learn about life, mental health, all those things before we really focus on the game. And we put more emphasis on those things off the field than we do on the field, because on the field is easy. It's not hard to get somebody to take a 6-inch step. But the hardest part is to get them to understand the dynamic of what they have and teach them how to take care of themselves and their families. And we just had a conversation about this yesterday with the Texans Legends community, really trying to help these young men be pillars of the community, because once you're done with the NFL is done with you a lot of times. Right. And guys have been ushered through a system that really hadn't taught them anything, and they're kind of handicapped. And that's why you hear about guys going, broke when they're done, because it's been X's and O's and itineraries the entire time. And then when you're done, you don't have it anymore. So what do I do now? And now that's when guys get in trouble, because they're winging it. They don't have a plan or anything. So that's what the State's Developmental Football League is about. We started that back in 2012, and we beta tested each year until, up until now. So we'll probably go live in 2023, 2024. I'm not in a hurry. I want to make sure that everything's right. All the strategic partners are there, and all these other programs are running at the same time. So that way we're making a lot of noise with it.
Wow. And so I was, how did tell us about the Huddle Foundation, because we're really big into foundations, and obviously later on, I'm going to ask you, we're part of the Hugh Jackson Foundation, but how did the Huddle Foundation come about?
Well, after I was elected treasurer of the NFLPA, my peers, former players, these guys saw what I was doing with my league and the different programs that I was bringing to the table. And then they elected me the president of Huddle Up, because that was started back in, I want to say 2002, if I'm not mistaken. And initially it was about scholarships. Initially it was about, the things that we were already doing with the PA, but they wanted to go a little bit broader, and they knew that I had all of the different tools in the toolbox to start building it out. So what we do now is we tackle all the initiatives of the different athletes, the different things that they want to do. And from there, making a bigger impact on the communities that we live in, that we serve, but also making a much more broader social impact with our platforms and our voices and the things that we've done. And we leverage what we've done on the field in order to be champions for the people. And that's what we're doing.
Wow.
Garrick, do you sleep?
Very little.
Very little.
Very little. No, yeah, actually I do. You'll be surprised, man. I've learned how to live this life for a number of years. I've been doing this as long as I can remember. So this is part of the deal.
It's a beautiful thing. I love that you serve and you're passionate, so that you have all these different funnels of ways that you can reach in so many different ways. Let me ask you this, the NFL legends, I'm always interested. Now, are you linking the NFL legends and the vets with the current players to help share their stories so that they can learn that way as well?
Yeah, I try to do as much as I can with the current players. Unfortunately, there's a little disconnect between the former guys and the current guys. Mm-hmm. So whenever you're able to get to a current guy and sit down and talk with him and mentor him, that's really big, because there's a lot that we don't get a chance to do together. And that's what we were discussing yesterday with the Texans legends, how we could bridge that gap and work with those guys, and even more so work with the guys that are on their way out, because it's a mad dash when you're close to the end of your career and you really don't know what you want to do. You don't know how to do these things. So having some plans in place for them when it comes down to the transitions is the major thing, because you'll be a former player far longer than you'll be a current player. And these guys need to know that. But when you're young and you're getting paid every 2 weeks, you're invincible. But the moment you're done, that's when reality sets in. Nobody's cheering for you anymore, and you kind of fade into obscurity. And those are the things that we don't want to happen.
Yeah, it's so important. I also have some friends that are, current players, and then they might go through an injury, and then they don't know how much to balance the new career with the waiting out the injury to stay in. And I think it's so wonderful to have that mentorship from others who have gone through it. Like yourself.
It's big. You got to have it. I mean,
it is.
There's no way around it. A lot of times that, like I say, there's a lot of fragmentation, and it's unfortunate. We just want the best for the guys, but at the same time, we want them to think about, what they have their hands on while they're playing, and being able to enjoy that time, because you can ask a lot of guys that have played the game. They didn't necessarily enjoy it as much as they would have liked, myself included. So we're just trying to figure out how to get to that space where it's more enjoyment in it. And, those types of things. So.
So what are you most looking forward to? Obviously, the stuff you have now, but what are you most looking forward to in the future, and for these current athletes that you guys watch, and for in this particular league, and what are you most looking forward to? And have they said anything about like protocols yet for these athletes, or is it back to normal there?
You know what? I don't know all the ins and the outs, in regards to the protocols. So I'm just watching like everybody else. It comes down to those things. I think the thing I'm most excited about is there's a shift that's happening right now where, with us being in this COVID era, in this space, a lot more people are having to really look within themselves and are learning. And with learning, you get the opportunity to really look at the big picture. So I think a lot of people backed away from the canvas a little bit and really saw the big picture of what's going on, especially in professional sports. And there's a shift happening with athletes that want more of an ownership role, athletes that want to be, in upper management, athletes that want to learn the logistics of games. So the things that I've been doing my entire life and career in football and anywhere I am, you have a lot more people that are doing that now, which is really refreshing. And that's ultimately where we are with some of the things that I have my hands on right now, with the hashtag athlete take back movement, where, you got a group of different organizations coming together in order to, really educate the athletes, give them more of a voice, as well as the fans themselves, when it comes down to these things. Because the two most important groups to a professional sports team or league is your fans and your athletes. If you don't have neither one, you got a problem. So to be able to be in a position to lead this charge with our fan-centric movement, I'm excited about that, because that gives us an opportunity to watch these fans mature and learn the logistics of game, sports management, athlete management, and really have a better grasp of where their dollars are going, and also their voices, and the athletes as well, and their families, because we're all in this thing together. So we all need to win together. And that's what I'm most excited about right now.
We'll definitely check that out. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Garrett, let me ask you, are the paintings behind you, did you paint those? Do you still paint, or you were talking about the importance of creativity when you were younger. Do you do any creativity now? Music?
I try to do music, but just the quality of life is a little different for me right now after I've played so much ball.
Yeah.
Painting, same way. My hands are a bit rough right now from playing sports and using those, to perfect my craft and in my profession.
Yeah.
But I'm an artsy guy, man. I'm always collecting art. Like a couple of these paintings, I picked up from different places that I've been in the world. And I'm always, listening to music, and just doing like little things like that. But I pass that down to my children, so I watch them thrive in it. They enjoy creating and band and art and all those things. And sometimes I just look at some of the stuff that they do, and I'm just in awe, because they're so good at it, to not be trained all the way in it. And I think that's the refreshing thing, because I get a chance to live vicariously through them in that. So that's where I do all my creations through my youngsters. I just watch them do what they do, and I enjoy it.
Nice. And when you traveled for football, you've been all over. Did you get a chance to see much art and culture and music as you traveled, or was it pretty tight schedule?
No, it was pretty tight schedule. You know,
Yeah.
contrary to popular belief, people think that you have all the time in the world, but those are business trips. I
Yeah,
mean, I've been all over the world with the game, but it was more so business. You know, it was more,
right.
okay, we're coming to do this, and we're on this itinerary, we're on this schedule, and it's tight. This is what we're doing. We're in and out. So you don't really get a chance to really enjoy a lot until you're done. And that's been the situation, just trying to catch up, you know, because it's a lot of lost, I won't say lost time,
Yeah,
but definitely want to try to catch up as much as possible and see as much as you can, because you know, and you ask, do I sleep? And I tell a lot of people, the reason I work is the way I do is because I know the effects of, you know, playing ball
right.
as many years as I have. And the moment I slow down is when I begin to change. It's the same with all players. Um, I have guys that I play with that are my age that, you know, you really can't even recognize them anymore because everything slowed down for them, you know, whether it be from concussions,
Yeah.
just the bodily functions, those types of things. So
Wow.
I choose to try to keep going because that keeps me going. But the moment I slow down, you can kind of feel yourself slipping into that whole deal. And it's scary. But you know, it's one of the things that we get to talk about and teach from those testimonies, because you know, I know the effects of professional sports. And I talk to my sons all the time, and I say, hey man, look,
Yeah.
if this is what you want to do, you know, I'll help you get there, but we got to be as smart as possible, and you got to get the most out of it as you can, because at the end of the day, it's going to take a toll on your body. It's going to take a toll on your relationships, all those different things. So
Yes.
it's part of the deal.
It is part of the deal, and it's use it or lose it. So good for you.
Right.
For
There you go. You got
mentoring
it.
him though.
You got it.
Hey, having that pace is important, it sounds like. So
Man, you got to, it's like a shark, man. You can't stop. You got to keep going, or else, you know, it's not going to be a good situation. So
That's what we
yeah,
do.
I had a trainer tell me I was doing too much, and I said, no, I got to break it up. I got 3 kids. I need to like break up my day with exercise.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, I have to.
That's what we do over here. We keep going. We don't stop. We keep working.
That's
There you
right.
go. That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So before we get to the last few things, I have 2 core questions here. And what do you like about the game of football now? And obviously you work with the NFLPA also. And I had Demarius Smith on the show last year from the NFLPA, and what a great guy to talk. Yeah, he was awesome to talk to. I learned a lot from that one. But what do you like about the game and the change? And obviously, especially female coaches, because I saw your recent interview with Jen Welter. I like the interview.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and she was on our show too before. And what do you like about the change of the NFL game, and then seeing a lot more female coaches like Lori Lacoste from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who we got to meet, and some of these other female coaches?
Oh man, I love it. I love it. I love the aspects of you know, the females being a part of it. You know, just playing the game. They're so passionate. You know, when they go through a lot, you know, when it comes down to actually playing the game, you know, conducting themselves off the field. A lot of them have families. A lot of them are working, and they're paying a lot to play the game.
Yeah.
So I hold the highest respect for them, you know, and that's more or less what we're doing with the Developmental Football League. We'll have a women's division as well. That is going to give them an opportunity to generate revenue and take care of their families playing a game that they love. So I love the direction of where football is going and where it is. I think it's more intentional now, you know, and that's really good when it comes down to just the communication and just the thought processes behind everything, because you could be so set on the bottom line that you alienate everybody that is a part of that bottom line. And that's kind of been the MO for the longest. But now, you know, I think there's a glimmer of hope when it comes down to being all inclusive, giving everybody the opportunity to be a part of it, but you got to earn your stripes. It is what it is. And they've done that, especially Jen, man. Jen's a gem. I love Jen. You know, we're on the advisory board for AO Sports together. So we work together on all kind of aspects, and we'll be doing some camps and things like this out here in Houston. So I love her, man. She's something else, full of energy, and
She is the
and
best.
yeah, she is. Yeah, she really is. So yeah,
And
so I love it.
she's a great example of using social media for greatness and really attracting empowerment as far as women in
Right.
sports. And so tell us your thoughts on social media now, as far as the players posting different things. Sometimes it's used for good, sometimes it's
Right.
showy and can get them in
Right.
trouble. Sometimes
Absolutely.
we share our opinion and then we get fines. Tell us your
Right.
thoughts. It's a totally different world as far as social media and sports. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, social media is what it is. It's a tool, you know, and however you use it is what you'll get back from it. I mean, you can use it for good situations and promoting yourself, or you can use it for the wrong things and you'll get the wrong kind of attention. But it's a reflection of who you are. You know, a lot of people say I get on here and I get the chance to be anybody I want to. But if you're looking to do certain things and have certain things attached to your brand, it's a reflection of you and who you represent. And I tell athletes all the time, you know, if you want to try to go to the next level, you have to use that as a tool in order to show teams why they need to bring you in. I mean, it has to be a level of value, you know, that you're bringing to the table, you know, whether it be you have all these followers who could be potential customers, potential fans. Those are potential dollars to those teams and those organizations.
Right.
And at the same time, you know, things that you post and you put on there, that has to be a representation of them already.
Right.
And that's what I learned while I was traveling, chasing scouts. I didn't have that, you know, I didn't have the internet. It was just starting out. I mean, it was getting hot, but I was showing up to these just not even tryouts, man. I'm running in mud. I'm running in hotel hallways. I mean, anywhere.
You
right?
were the
So I'm
real
showing
deal.
up with
You
my
were
cleats.
your own digital portfolio in the flesh.
Yeah, I was. I promise I was. So,
Yeah.
you know, I was showing up with cleats around my neck and my VHS tapes at my feet. Like, let's do it, you know. So now it's a lot easier to be seen. So we just try to make sure that the athletes understand, hey, look, this is your brand. You are a brand within a brand. So you got to build that, because once you're done, you still got to eat from this. So I'm like, you online anyway, you might as well get paid to be on this thing. So that's how it works.
Yes. And that's amazing. And I applaud you for all of your work and getting to where you are. I mean, I remember, I guess it was like a couple months ago, I think Chris Long, I think he had Devontae Smith and they were talking about camps, and, you know, guys will go in cars and they will sleep in the car, just do whatever it takes, or just get there when you hear about, you know, a scouting camp.
Absolutely.
And it's applaudable because you put in such work. I mean, you followed them, and it was such a different time then.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a very different time then. But I mean, if you look at how, you know, the bones of it is, and the foundation, I mean, it's the same thing, you know.
Right.
No matter, it doesn't get too far away from it. You have to show a reason for them to actually invest in you, because it's an investment, you know, for them to pay the amounts of money that they pay, they're investing in you. So you're a business. And people don't necessarily invest in businesses that they just look at the business plan and say, oh, this is a great business plan. They invest in you. So those are the things that we try to teach these athletes and the athletes that I mentor, and any and everybody. So that's how it works.
And I love how you said that regarding online, using social media as a tool, how you said you've got to be something that they already want. And that is like 100% across the board, everything.
Absolutely. You have to be in the same framework of the athletes that they look at every year. So if you've been out of the ball a couple of years, okay, how do you get back into that framework? They got to see, and they have to see updated film. They have to see you in the community. They have to see these different things. They have to see all of these different followers. That way you're a complete package by the time you get to them and say, hey, look, here's what I've done. These are the numbers. This is the analytics. Okay, this is the stuff. These are my specs. You have to be ready, because that window is very, 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 very tight. You know, that window is not open very wide, and it closes by the year. So guys have to understand that. Like, the reality of it is less than 1% of all athletes make it. And
exactly. It's almost hard. It sounds like it's almost harder now with more competition, with being the package deal, all inclusive, you being your brand before you even develop into it. You've got to start from the get-go. Right.
It's always been like that, but now people see more of it because you have cameras everywhere. You got camera phones, you got all this stuff. So you have to be on top of that. So it's matured a lot more, and it's always been this way. but people are seeing a lot more now.
I appreciate that they're looking for players to be a part of their community too before they get in. I think that's
absolutely
great.
Yeah,
that's big. That's big.
Yeah.
That's how I stuck around so long. I mean, it wasn't that I wasn't talented enough, because that clearly was not the case. It's the politics of it. You know, if they invest 100,000 or 10 million in a guy, and then they give you 10,000, the guy that got the 10 million is going to play. It's just that's just what they got to justify that 10 million. So
yeah, that's really important. Yeah. So before we get to the last two things, where can people find the league, your league, and your foundation?
Oh man, I would suggest people just search me, Garrick Jones. The league is the state's Developmental Football League. Like I say, we won't really go live with that in probably to 2023.
Okay.
We got some things on the table. Like I say, this fan-centric movement that people can get into right now, and we're going to teach the fans, like I say, all these different aspects of ownership, and give them an opportunity to have a voice, like, you know, the Green Bay Packers did with their shareholders a bit. But we're going to take it into the 21st century where they can get into this crypto space. And we're going to look at acquiring a lot of different teams to give them a voice now when it comes down to, you know, various things that they really want to have and they want to see. So we got a lot on the table, man. But I just tell people to search me out, Garrick Jones, NFL, whatever. I mean, I've done enough to where, you know, some will pop up that might catch somebody interest, that'll interest somebody. So
There's a lot that pops up. So much pops up, and we are cheering for you. Congrats, 2023. We will be following.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, you guys got to get in on this fan-centric movement. So I'll send you guys some information.
I would love that.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, I'll send you guys some information, and that's the big push right now. Is like I said, it's the hashtag fan-centric or hashtag athlete take back. Those are the movements right now, and that leads us back home with the state's Developmental Football League and everything else that's on the table. So we're in a very good spot right now.
So I gotta ask you this. I know you're a big cigar guy. Which cigar do you like to smoke?
Cubans, man, real Cubans from Vinales. Yeah. So I had the opportunity before I think they shut everything back down.
Yeah.
To get over there. My wife and I went over there for my birthday.
Cool.
And we went and got some real Cubans. So that's kind of my situation, man. Once you get the real thing, you don't want anything else. And this is actually where I got the pain from, Cuba. So it's, you know, so that's my deal, man.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So the last few things here, our team is part of this foundation. It's called the Hugh Jackson Foundation. He's a former NFL coach, but now he's the offensive coordinator at Tennessee State with Eddie George. And we're trying to help him prevent human trafficking, making sure the community stays safe, the kids stay safe. So I'll send you the foundation so you guys can check it out.
Absolutely. No, I'd love to get the information, and I'd love to, you know, do some things, strategic partnerships. I'd love to bring it to the chip in platform and do a lot of different things through those things that we just leverage all the resources and relationships to make it make sense, you know?
Thank you.
Garrick, you are the yes man. It's awesome. I love their energy. You accomplish everything it sounds like that you've ever sought to do. So I'm absorbing that energy.
There you go. Please take it. Yeah, I'm trying to give it off, man. It's, you know, hey, this is what it's about, man. I mean, it's all about perspective. You know, you change your perspective, you change your world. So
Absolutely.
The last thing here, would you like to say anything to all the nurses, doctors, and essential workers right now? Because they deserve a pay raise.
Man, they do. I mean, you can't put a price tag on what they do, man. And that's a service that's selfless. You know, they are servants in everything that they do, especially now. You know, with everything, you know, going on with COVID and just the uncertainty, and to still get up and go to work and be there, you know, is commendable. I mean, they deserve raises. They deserve everything that they ask for. And that's ultimately what we want to get to, a point to where, you know, everybody's comfortable, everybody's in a good place, and everybody's good. You know, like I say, for us to wake up every day is a blessing, because we're losing a lot of people, you know, and mortality is a reality. And unfortunately, you know, what's going on is speeding a lot of that up. So I'm just thankful for him, man. And I appreciate him from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah, well said. And there it is. That wraps up episode 876 with former NFL, CFL offensive lineman Garrick Jones. Go follow him on all social media formats. He does a lot of great work now, still involved in the game of football. He's a CEO and commissioner of the state's Developmental Football League. I don't know why I can't say that word today, but and then also he has a foundation called Huddle Up, and he's part of the NFLPA. Go check him out again. Thank you again for coming on the show. It's truly an honor, and we learned a lot today, and we would like to have you back as a returning guest so you can meet the full team, but keep up the great work, and you and your family stay safe.
All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Garrick. We appreciate you.
Yep. Thank you.